So the antagonistic muscle, which is relaxing when the muscle identified is contracting, probably the easiest one, when the bicep contracts, the triceps relaxes. When the quadriceps contract, that's usually the action of kicking a ball or straightening the knee. The opposite muscle on the back of your leg is the hamstrings. And when the gastrocnemius contracts, that's usually when we're pointing our toes. The opposing muscle of the gastrocnemius is the tibialis anterior. Our hip flexors, which are used to, say, raise our knee, the opposite muscle that relaxes, you might not think about this, but it is your gluteus maximus. So I hope you got those correct. Hope you didn't have too much trouble finding the answers to questions 1 and 2, but the answer to question 1, a movement that decreases the angle between two body parts, that is called flexion. And the opposite of flexion, a movement that increases the angle between two body parts, is called extension. Okay. So in this picture, Ronaldo is in the backswing. You can see that in terms of the anatomical position, i.e. standing upright with feet together and palms facing outwards, you can see at the hip that the angle has actually increased. So there has been extension at the hip. But in terms of the anatomical position, you can see that the angle of his lower leg has decreased, and so that will be flexion at the knee. So if we look at Ronaldo in the follow-through, we can see that the angle X compared to the anatomical position, the angle has decreased. So therefore flexion has taken place at the hip. And in terms of the knee, well, his leg has gone from being bent to being straight. So the angle has actually increased, which means there's been extension at the knee. Okay, let's see how you've done then. There's lots and lots of different factors that can influence the force and the contact time. So starting with force, I've got factors such as the angle of your run-up. I always like footballers to take a slight angled run-up so they can use the hips as well as the legs to generate force. The speed of your run-up can have a factor. Flexibility, how far you can take your leg back. That can also influence the force that we apply to the ball. Obviously, the size of your muscles and the power of your muscles, the number of fast twitch fibers in your muscles, these can all increase the speed at which you kick or move your leg in a sense. Moving on to factors that influence contact time. You can look at where you contact the ball. Do you contact it in the sweet spot, which is dead in the center? If you connect really right in the center of the ball wraps around your foot more and therefore stays in contact with your foot for longer. Also the position on your foot. There is a sweet spot on your foot, and generally that's as high up your foot as it can possibly go. And that's why on the video, hopefully if you watched it, most of the fastest shots were all volleys or half volleys, and that's because you can get your foot, you can get the ball much higher up on your foot on a volley, and it creates a much more deformation of the ball or more contact time with your foot. The type of ball has a factor. The balls they use in the Premier League are lighter. They also are more elastic, they spring back, and therefore they do travel a lot further. Where you put your standing foot is important. If you put your standing foot well ahead of the ball or not ahead of the ball, so you don't get the foot up to the ball, then you're not going to strike it on the right part of your foot. So that's going to affect the contact time. There is a theory out there that says that the size of your feet have an influence on contact time, and a lot of the players with small feet do tend to have very powerful shots, like Sergio Aguero, I think has size 6 feet. And also the position of the near impact does affect the contact time on the ball, and particularly where you strike the ball on your foot. Okay, so you may have found other factors, but there's a whole host of factors that can influence our efficiency when kicking a ball. So I really hope you've enjoyed participating in this online taster session. Obviously, if we were in normal times, we'd be in the sports hall videoing and doing this in a very, very practical way. But in the meantime, I'd just like to thank you for attending. I want you to have a great summer. Most importantly, stay safe, and I really hope that we can start studying our BTEC Sports Science in September. So hope to see you soon, and thanks very much.